Are you tired of eating tasteless, boring bread from the grocery store? Me too. Baking bread at home isn't as complicated as you think. Sandwiches are one of the most versatile and quick grab-on-the-go meals. The quality of the bread can make a huge difference. Breads from bakeries and high-end markets are delicious but can be a bit pricey. Call me ambitious, but I've always thought I can bake better bread at home and feel good about what I'm feeding my family and friends. Isn't it odd that breads you buy from stores last days and sometimes weeks? Breads I bake at home might last 3 to 4 days until it starts going bad. Bread should only contain 4 main ingredients: flour, water, salt, yeast. Hence the book I recommend for first-time bread bakers is called Flour, Water, Salt, Yeast by Ken Forkish. I've tried various bread books: Tartine, Breads from the La Brea Bakery, Lan, Josie Baker Bread. They all were great books with delicious bread recipes. However, I think the book Flour, Water, Salt, Yeast is a great place to start for beginners. From easy same-day breads using yeast to complex advanced recipes using starters, the instructions are clear and easy to understand. All the recipes are delicious and out of this world. Other books by Ken Forkish include The Elements of Pizza and his recent book Evolutions in Bread.
Ken Forkish is the previous owner of Ken Artisan Bakery and Ken Artisan Pizza in Portland, Oregon. I read that he retired and sold his restaurants to friends and employees.
Here are the tools recommended for bread baking. 12-quart tub with lid to mix your dough in. I use 6 quarts and it works fine. 4-quart Dutch oven to bake your bread in, or a bread baker. Digital scale. Instant read probe thermometer to measure water and dough temperature. Proofing baskets. 9-inch diameter and 3.5-inch deep. It's good to have 2 since his recipe typically makes 2 loaves.
There's so many recipes in this book. There's a chapter on straight dough, which we're going to make today. It's just a simple bread recipe using store-bought yeast. There's a chapter on pre-ferments. Pre-ferments is when you mix flour, water, yeast, and let it rest for a couple of hours, typically overnight, and then you mix the final dough after it's been rested. Pre-ferments enhances bread flavor. There's a few chapters and a lot of bread recipes using levain, starter. Ken Forkish walks you through how to make your own starter from start to finish. There's also a chapter on pizza and focaccia. It teaches you how to make good pizza in your own oven with a pizza stone. Without further ado, let's make some bread.
We're going to make a straight dough called Saturday white bread. Step 1. Autolyse. Autolyse is the first step to bread making. You're just mixing flour and water and letting it rest for 20 to 30 minutes. This allows proper dough and gluten development. Salt, yeast, and starter is added after the completion of Autolyse. Let's weigh our ingredients. To the tub, add 1,000 grams of white flour. Flour with 11 to 12% protein is recommended. 720 grams of water with temperatures between 90 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Mix until the ingredients are incorporated. Cover and let it rest for 20 to 30 minutes. Step 2. Mixing. Add 21 grams of salt and 4 grams of instant yeast to the dough. Dip your hands in warm water and fold the dough until the salt and yeast is fully incorporated. Stretch and fold method. Reach and grab underneath the dough and fold over. Turn the container and repeat the process. Pincer method. Pinch pieces off, then fold over. Cover and let the dough rest for 1 to 3 minutes. Fold the dough some more and continue until the dough tightens. This dough will be ready in roughly 5 hours from now. However, you need to apply 2 series of folds to the dough. It is best to apply the folds in the next 1.5 hours. Apply first fold after 10 minutes. Second fold in about 30 minutes. Goal for the dough temperature is 78 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature is best for gas production and flavor development. Here is a sample schedule. Autolyse begins 9:30 a.m. Finish mixing by 10 a.m. First fold at 10:10 a.m. Second fold by 11:30 a.m. Shaping at 3 p.m. This is after 5-hour rest. The dough is ready when it has tripled in volume. I'm sprinkling rice flour on my proofing baskets to prevent the dough from sticking. If you use flour, the dough tends to absorb the flour and stick to the proofing baskets. Dividing. Dust your working surface lightly with flour. Sprinkle the sides of the dough with flour. I use a dough scraper to help me release the dough from the container. And the dough is out! Woohoo! Stretch the dough out with floured hands. Dust the middle of the dough with flour where you're going to cut the dough in half. Shaping. Stretch the dough out with floured hands. Fold one side over, then the other side. Pull and stretch the bottom over, then the top. Flip the dough over, move the dough in a circular motion, then pull down. Repeat the process until the dough forms a nice round dome. Carefully pick up the dough and place it in the basket seam side down. Sprinkle lightly with rice flour around the edges and top of the dough. Repeat the process with the second dough. Cover or place the proofing baskets in a non-perforated bag. I use these shower caps to cover my proofing baskets. Shh, I take them from hotels. Let the dough rest for 1 hour to 1 hour and 15 minutes. Preheat your oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit with the Dutch ovens or bakers 45 minutes prior to baking time. If you only have one Dutch oven, then put the second loaf in the fridge for 20 minutes. You can also keep it in the fridge overnight and bake it the next morning. You can use the finger indentation test to see if your dough is ready. Flour your finger and lightly poke your dough. If it springs back too fast, it needs to proof longer. If it springs back slowly, the dough is ready. Please be careful when you're handling hot Dutch ovens or bakers. I'm sprinkling semolina flour on the bottom of my bakers to prevent it from sticking. Invert the dough into the Dutch oven or baker with seam side up. Cover and place it back in the oven. Bake for 30 minutes. Carefully remove the lids and bake for an additional 15 to 20 minutes until golden brown. Carefully place the loaves on a cooling rack and wait 20 minutes before slicing.
There's nothing like homemade bread. There's so much flavor in this bread. Browns so well. This bread is so good. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you give the book a try. There's so many different types of recipes in this book, from beginner to advanced, from breads you make in 1 day to breads that take up to 2 days. That's it for me, guys. Until next weekend. Bye.